Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn how to make the dress that I've just showed you at the beginning of the video. So this dress is multicolored, but I will be giving you the approximate amount of yarn that you will need for the whole project. For example, for a size small, I used about 1,200 yards for the skirt, and for the top I used about 200 yards. So roughly the dress consumes about 1,400 to 1,500 yards of yarn. And yeah, as I had mentioned before, the skirt bit is multicolored and the top part of the dress is a single color. So whatever yarn that you're using, just make sure you have that amount of yarn with you. The hook that I'll be using is a 4mm crochet hook. You'll need a darning needle, a measuring tape, a pair of scissors. And then another thing that I want to mention is this is a Pinterest inspired dress, but twisted a little bit because the top doesn't attach onto the skirt to make the dress. It's attached differently, as you will see later on in the video. I decided to do this so that the top can be detachable and so that we can wear the skirt alone later on. So it can be a multi-purpose project. So let's jump right into the video. So you will need several colors of yarn, as you will see here on the screen. For me personally, I used about 4 or 5 colors. I used orange, I used mustard yellow, I used brown, and I used white. So approximately 4 colors, but you can use any colors of your choice. We distorted the arrangement of the colors of the original piece, but if you want to follow the same exact as it is, it's totally up to you. So let's get started. So we're going to first start with the skirt portion of the dress, and that's going to be worked from top to bottom, all the way from the waistline down to your feet. So for my client, her measurement was 42 inches from the waistline down to her feet. So what I want to do is to start off with a slip knot. You're going to twist over your yarn like this, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and that's our slip knot. So you're going to make a chain that is 42 inches or whatever length that you've gotten from your waistline all the way to the feet when not stretched. So I'm going to just make a chain, a very long chain. All right, so for my skirt, I did a total of 190 chains, and we are now going to go across the chain, building on the body of the skirt. So you're going to go into the second chain from the hook. Once you get the length of the skirt that you want, you're going to go into the second chain from the hook, not this one, but this one, the second one. So go into the second chain from the hook with 1 single crochet. So insert your hook, pull up a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all, and then single crochet into the next chain, single crochet into the next chain, single crochet into the next chain. So we want a total of 8 single crochets. So far we have 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So after you get your 8 single crochets, you're going to start creating double crochet stitches. So for a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So continue to double crochet across your chain until the end of the row. So this part with the single crochet stitches is going to create the waistband, and then the lower part with the double crochet stitches is going to create the body of the skirt. So you're going to just double crochet all the way across your chain. At the beginning of your chain where we have the loose end. So you're going to work all the way across. And this will be the downer part of the skirt, the one that ends with a double crochet and starts with a chain 3, which counts as a double crochet as well. So continue to double crochet, and I'll meet you back towards the end of my row. Alright, so when you make it across to the end of your row, you'll have something that looks like this. We have our double crochet stitches and then our single crochet stitches at the beginning. These are only 8, and then from there we did the double crochet stitches all the way across the chain. And then you're going to make a chain of 2, which counts as our very first double crochet. We don't want to make a chain of 3 because it will create a very big gap. So the chain of 2 counts as our very first double crochet. Turn your work, and then this double crochet is attached to the very first stitch. So you'll go into the next stitch with 1 double crochet, and then continue to double crochet all the way across until you have 8 stitches left. And those 8 stitches are the stitches where we placed single crochet stitches at the beginning of row 1. So double crochet in each double crochet until you run out of double crochet stitches, and then I'll show you how to wind up row 2. Alright, so we are coming to the end of the double crochet stitches, and I believe this is my very last double crochet, and I've placed a double crochet into it. The rest are single crochet stitches. So for the single crochet stitches, we have a total of 8 of them at the end of the row, and we're going to go into the back loops only, and you're going to place 1 single crochet back loop only. We're only going into the back loops, as you can see. You go into the back loop and place a single crochet. This is going to help us create the waistband of the skirt. And as you can see, this part is only located on one end of the panel. And the side with this ribbing or the single crochet stitches is going to automatically become the waistband or the upper side of the skirt. So after placing 1 single crochet back loop only in each of the 8 single crochets from the previous row, you're going to make a chain of 1 and then turn your work. Then from here you're going to go into the very first stitch, into the back loop only, and you're going to place 1 single crochet and then continue to single crochet back loop only in each of the next 7 stitches to make it a total of 8 single crochet back loop only stitches. Just like that. And this should be my last. So once you have a total of 8 single crochet back loop only, then you're going to go back to the double crochet stitches and you're going to place 1 double crochet in each and every double crochet from the previous row, and continue to do that all the way to the end of the row, and I'll show you how to wind up your row. This is going to make this upper part of the skirt smaller because definitely the waist area should be smaller than the hips. So don't worry about this. This is the shaping of the skirt. So double crochet all the way to the end of the row, and I'll show you how to wind up. All right, so we're coming to the end of our row 3, and I am still double crocheting in each and every stitch until we reach the very last stitch, which is the chain 2. And you're going to go on top of the chain 2 and place a double crochet, since the chain 2 from the previous row counted as a stitch. So from here you're going to make a chain of 2, turn your work, and we are going to repeat the same exact process as we did for row 2. So basically we are repeating rows 2 and 3 again and again until we get the width of the panel that we want. So for now, I'm going to just repeat rows 2 and 3 until I have the width that I want for this particular color, and then I'll come back and show you how to switch colors to the next color. And I'm currently on row 4. Alright guys, I've done a total of 4 rows and it's time for me to switch colors. I will just make a chain of 1 after my 4th row, and I'll cut my yarn at this point, pull through, and then I'll attach my next color. For me that is brown. So you're going to get your brown strand and you're going to attach where you left off with the orange. So make a slip knot and attach it into the very first stitch, the first single crochet, or double crochet if you decide to change from this end. So just attach it there, and then we just make a chain of 1 and continue with the pattern. We are just repeating rows 2 and 3. So if you're on the end of single crochet stitches, you start with the single crochet back loop only all the way down until you have 8 stitches, and then you go back to the original pattern of double crochet stitches until you make it to the end of the row, just like this, and then you go back to the double crochet stitches. So double crochet all the way to the end of the row. So nothing really changes. I just wanted to show you the switching of colors. So keep working and keep changing colors whichever way that you wish until this panel's width can stretch to your hip measurement. So I'm going to just keep working rows 2 and 3, and I'll be updating you as I work so that we can see the progress of the skirt until we get to the end of our journey. This is going to take a while and I can't record all of it on the screen because it will just be a wastage of time. We are just repeating the same exact thing again and again until this panel, the width can measure our hip measurement when stretched. So keep working and I'll meet you back later. Alright guys, so we continued working rows 2 and 3 as we switched colors along the way until we got our waist measurement. Remember, the upper waist measurement that I considered for this skirt was 26 inches, and when I get my measuring tape and I measure this side with the single crochet back loop only stitches, you should be able to stretch it to 26 inches or your waistline measurement. So without stretching, I have about 22 inches, and when I stretch it out, it goes to about 27 inches because I don't want it very tight on my client. So it can even go up to 28 when fully stretched. You can see it can even go up to 29. So this just justifies that this will be comfortably fitted around the waist. Then when it comes to the double crochet stitches, make sure that this can get to the hip measurement of the client. So when we consider this, I have 29 inches and my client's hip measurement is 36 inches. So try to stretch out your work and make sure you can get to 36 and beyond. So since I have my 36 inches, and if I stretch it out fully, it goes beyond 36, almost 40 inches. And this also shows that it will fit the client very well. So I did a total of 62 rows all together, and this is exactly what I have, all the way from the waistline down to the feet. Then we're going to fold over our work like this. You're going to determine where you want your slit to be. So it's now time to fold over. After your last stitch, actually, you're going to just make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. Disconnect your yarn ball from the project. So we're going to fold over our work like this. Fold your work into 2, your panel into 2, just like this. And since the client wants a slit on the side, and since these measurements have been very specific to her body, I'm not going to join this using a single crochet stitch. Reason being, this won't fit around her hips to wear the skirt comfortably, and also it can't pass through the shoulders. As you can see, this is very small, but according to the measurements, this can stretch to her waistline measurement, so it will fit perfectly well. So what I'm going to do is to attach a zip from the top all the way to where she wants her slit to end. She wants a slit of 29 inches. So I'm going to consider the 29 inches from the base of the skirt, from the base here, from the base, and I measure 29 inches all the way up, because that's the height of the slit that she wants. So I'm going to measure from the opening that we have after folding our panel into 2. So we have 29 inches here, somewhere around here, and you're going to get a stitch marker. Get a stitch marker and just mark that point at 29 inches. So that means the zip is going to run all the way from the top here, from the top, the waistline of the skirt, all the way down to where we've placed the stitch marker. So let me just cross check to make sure I have the same exact stitches on both sides. So on the yellow side, I have a total of 47 stitches. So I'm going to count 47 on the orange side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're going to mark your 47th stitch and make sure you align it with the 47th stitch of the yellow side, or whichever color that you're dealing with. Okay, so after doing this, we have made sure that we've matched the number of stitches both at the base and at the top of the skirt. So I think I'm going to make use of the tailor to help me attach this zip. You can hand stitch the zip if you wish, but I don't want to do that because I want perfection for my work. So I'm going to attach the zip and I will be back to show you the final result of the skirt. Alright guys, if you decide to take the approach of no zip, then you're going to continue working until this measurement is your waistline measurement without stretching, not without stretching. So since my piece is folded in 2 halves, you can see we have a layer below. We should be able to get a total of 13 inches without stretching it. So it's almost there. almost at 13, and when we stretch it we should be getting something beyond 13, almost at 16. So make sure you get a measurement that is half your waistline measurement without stretching. So you can see this, almost 13 inches, and when we stretch we get almost at 16 inches. So once you get there, you stop working your rows, and then now we are going to attach the side of our skirt. So my client wants a slit of about 13 inches. So that means I'm going to count 13 inches from the top of the skirt where the ribbing is, 13, and then I'm going to mark one of the panels. So just get one stitch marker and mark that point at the 13th inch. So from 0 to 13, so you can see this. So now we're going to go ahead and attach our panels together. So after your last stitch, make sure you end on the upper end of the project, and I continued working until I had the same exact color on both ends, so that we don't get a contrasting color when we finish. So I ended with orange, and we have orange on this side as well. So what I'm going to do is to thread my darning needle, and we're going to start attaching the two panels together right from the very first stitch. So this is the second approach for those people who don't have a zip. The reason why we do this and increase the number of rows from the approach of the zip is because this skirt, the circumference of this skirt should be able to go around the hips, and since the body is a little bit more flexible than the dummy, then it can squeeze into a tight frame. So that's why we increased the number of rows when we were creating this approach of no zip. But for the zip, as you saw in the earlier stages, the zip can open up so that you can just wrap the skirt around your body comfortably well and easily. So you're going to join. I'm just using a normal, I think this is called a whip stitch. I'm just joining all the way until I get to the stitch marker. So here we are coming to the end of the slit, and I am attaching the stitch with a stitch marker onto the opposite side, and then I'm going to just remove the stitch marker from there. And then for the last stitch, I'm going to attach 2 times while weaving in this tail, or making it a little bit tighter than all the other stitches. So let's just cross check to make sure the length of the attachment is what we want. She wanted 13 inches joined, and then the rest of the skirt opened up for the slit. So you can see what we have, 13 inches approximately from where the slit ends up to here. So once you get that, you're going to weave in this tail. Just go to the back of your work and weave in the tail. By the way, this project is one of those projects that look exactly the same, both at the front and the back. So you will just decide where to place your slit, either on the left or the right. But my client wants her slit on the right side, so this will be the front side of the skirt. So once you get that, you're going to go ahead and weave in these tails, the ones at the top of the skirt, just like we did the previous ones. I'm going to just tie 2 knots and then get rid of the, since we are going to create an edging while attaching the elastic band. So once you cut off all your ends, you have your skirt ready. So let's just cross-check the measurements again before we proceed. When you put your measuring tape across, you should be having almost half of your waistline measurement without stretching. So we have a total of 13, and when we stretch it out, it goes to around 16. So this should be enough. And then for the length, we've already determined at the beginning of the project. The length has nothing to do with the adjustments. The length will remain the same. And then, all right, so you're going to get your elastic strand and you're going to measure your waistline measurement. So for me, that is 26. That's the waistline measurement I'm considering, 26 inches. And you're going to subtract a total of around 8 inches. So I'm going to use a total of around 18 inches because this can stretch to 26. You can see that? So I'm going to cut my yarn at around less by 8 to 7 inches. And this is the elastic strand that I'm going to use for my skirt. So at this point, I'm going to just make a knot so that the elastic band doesn't snap. So I prefer to tie it 2 times just to secure it. And then from here, I can cut off the ends. So now we have created a circular loop. And this one is going to be placed within the skirt here. So I'm going to determine which side is supposed to be the back side. So since my slit is on the right side, this is supposed to be my front side of the work. So I'm going to place my work on the back side, and that's where this knot is going to be placed. And I am going to use a white color for the boundary, or orange. I'm not yet so sure. I think I should use orange for the boundary color. I usually don't like using white because it gets dirty very fast. So let's use a darker shade. So you're going to make a slip knot. And you're going to go into each and every row with 1 single crochet. So you're going to attach your yarn. And while you're working this single crochet round, you're going to be wrapping around the elastic strand. So into each and every row with 1 single crochet. So we are wrapping around the elastic strand, that loop that we created using the elastic band. And you're going to repeat that all the way around. So you can see that the elastic band is quite small, but as you work, keep pushing it so that it can wrap around the skirt totally. Keep pulling on it so that it can go around the skirt and gather the waistline. So you can see that we are going to get a stretchy waistline at the top. All right, so another thing that I forgot to mention is when you're working your very final round, make sure the stitches are not very tight so that you don't tighten up the top of the skirt. So as you can see here, we still have that measurement that we had originally, but when you let it go, it creates that gathering effect. So we've made it all the way around, and I'm placing my very last single crochet stitches into the last rows. And once you get done with this, you're going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet that you did, and you're going to make a chain of 1. Then cut your yarn and pull through. So let's see what we have. This may seem a little bit too tiny to pass through someone's hips, but considering my client's measurements, this will be enough to pass through her hips. She's going to fight, like dance around with it a bit so that it can pass through her hips, but it will eventually pass. So whatever measurement that you consider doing, make sure this can wrap, it can be worn from the bottom or at least the shoulders. If the person has very wide hips and very thin shoulders, then you may consider passing that dress through the top of the shoulders all the way to the waist so that it can sit well around the hips. So yes, this is the end of the skirt bit. You're going to get your darning needle and weave in this tail, and let's go onto the top. Okay, so yeah, let's go on to the next step. All right, so for this version of the skirt without the zip, you're going to stretch out your work like this and then put the stitch markers on the ends like this here. Don't put the stitch markers without stretching. Make sure you stretch it out and put them on the side so that when we come to this point, you just place them at those points there. You place one here and then stretch out again to get the second point. Okay, so these are the 2 points that we are going to be considering for the top. So look at the slit, very beautiful. Now it's time to attach our top, and you're going to follow the same exact instruction regardless of what approach you took, either the zip or the one without the zip that has the seam line. So let's go ahead and make the top. All right, so for the top part of the dress, we're going to be using our white color, the white that we've been using in the skirt. So we're going to get that white color. It's more like off-white. And we're going to consider a few measurements. So you're going to get your full bust measurement, and the full bust measurement of my client is 32 inches, which is a size small. Now you're going to divide it into 2, and you're going to get 16 inches. And we're going to start with this measurement here. We're going to first consider this measurement because we're going to first work the back side of our top. So the other measurement that you're going to get is from your armpit all the way to your waistline where the skirt will end. So this is your armpit and this is the waistline. Get that measurement because that's the chain, the starting chain that we are going to make for our top. So for my client, that was 9 to 10 inches, but I'll consider 9 inches so that we get a good stretch to 10 inches. So that our top is fully well fitted. So you're going to grab your hook and yarn, and we're going to work 2 panels, 2 back panels. So the reason why we are doing 2 back panels is because we want the back side of the top open, because we are going to lace it up eventually. So we are using 2 back panels, and that means 16 inches. That's supposed to be the stretch of the whole back panel, but we are going to divide it by 2, and we are going to get 8 inches. But since the stitch that we are using is stretchy, we are going to this would have been 8 inches and this 8 inches as well. So we're going to subtract 1 inch so that we get 7 inches on this side and 7 inches on this side, as you'll see as we go along in the video. So we shall have 7 inches for this panel and 7 inches of this panel, so that when they stretch to around 8 inches. So we're going to start off with our starting chain, and it should be this measurement from the armpit all the way to the waistline where your skirt is supposed to sit, where the waistline stops. the waistline of the skirt up to your armpit. So for me, I'll consider this measurement here 9 inches. So I'm going to start off with a slip knot. And make a chain that is 9 inches. So I ended up doing a total of 36 chains, and that gave me around 9 inches when slightly stretched. When fully stretched, it goes to about 11 inches, but when it's not stretched, it's approximately 9 inches. So I did a total of 36 chains. Do whatever suits your body size. And then you're going to go into the second chain from the hook, not this one, but this one. You're going to insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all. That's a single crochet. And then single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have our very first stitch, and then in the next 4 stitches, which makes a total of 5 single crochets. And then in each of the next chains, we're going to place a half double crochet. So a half double crochet is yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all. Okay, so continue to half double crochet all the way across until the end of the chain. All right, so we're coming to the end of the row, and we have only 1 chain left, which is this one. You're going to go into it with 1 half double crochet. And your work is going to look something like this. The side with the single crochet stitches is the upper side of the top. We are working vertically, and we are building our top from this way all the way around the body. We are wrapping the top around the body of the client. So this is basically the length of the top from the armpit all the way to the waistline. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work, 1 half double crochet back loop only in each and every stitch until you have 5 stitches left. So we are going only into the back loop, as you can see here, only into the back loop. So 1 half double crochet back loop only until you have 5 stitches left. So working in the back loop means the stretch of the work is going to be a lot, That's why we took off the 1 inch of each panel when we were calculating the number of inches to make for the different panels. So instead of 8, we considered 7 because the stitch that we are using is going to be quite stretchy. So work until you have 5 stitches left. And those 5 stitches should be the very first single crochets of the previous row. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left. Once you have 5 stitches left, you're going to go into the back loops only with single crochet. So this time you're not going to yarn over, you're going to just insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all the 2 loops. So single crochet back loop only in each of the last single crochet stitches. Just like that. So this side is going to be narrower than this side. This side is the wider part, and both sides are going to create a ribbing, but this side is going to be tighter than the lower part. So after this, you're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work, 1 single crochet back loop only in each of the single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once you're done with your 5 stitches, then you start making 1 half double crochet back loop only in each and every stitch. All the way to the end of the row. So you can see the ribbing that's being created on our top. Alright, so we're coming to the end of the row, and don't forget to place 1 half double crochet back loop only into the very last stitch. Make sure you don't miss it. And this is what we have. So we're going to repeat rows 2 and 3. Remember, row 2 starts with a chain of 1 and 1 half double crochet back loop only until you have 5 stitches left, and in the last 5 stitches you place 1 single crochet back loop only. Then the next row starts with a chain of 1 and 1 single crochet back loop only in each of the first 5 stitches, and then you continue with half double crochet back loop only in each and every stitch. So keep working back and forth until this panel width is the 7 inches that we approximated during our calculations without stretching. because when stretched we want 8 inches, but we are going to make approximately 7 inches. And I'll meet you back when I have both panels finished, and then we carry on from there. Alright guys, so I ended up doing a total of 21 rows, and that gave me 7 inches. Remember, we are removing 1 inch since this panel can stretch out. So whatever you do, just make less by 1 inch. So remember, the reason why we are doing 7 inches is because half of our bust measurement was 16 inches. Let me get a piece of paper. Half of our bust measurement, the bust measurement was 32 inches. Then half of it was 16 inches. Then now we are working 2 panels of the back side. So we are dividing 16 because this is supposed to be the length of the back panel. So since we are working in 2 panels, we are dividing 16 by 2 and we are getting 8 inches. But since our panel stretches, we're going to consider 7 inches without stretching, so that when it stretches, it goes to 8 inches and it can fit comfortably around our body. So we're going to use this same exact sample to determine how many rows to do for the front side of the top. So I've done this. You're going to just go ahead and do the same exact piece on this side, depending on the measurements that you're considering for your top. For me, I have 21 rows here and 21 rows here, which should give me a total of 14 inches since we are subtracting 1 inch from each panel. So the total is supposed to be 16, but since we are subtracting 1 inch from each panel, we've gotten 14 inches because we have 7 here and we have 7 on the second panel, as you can see here. So 7 and 7 give us 14, and that will give us some sort of room to stretch and have a well-fitted top. So whatever you do or whatever you consider, the measurements that you're considering, subtract 1 inch from each of the panels. So we're going to put 1 panel away, and you're going to get your measuring tape, because now we are going to start considering the front panel of the top. So for the front panel, we are supposed to also consider 16 inches because we considered 16 for the back panel. And the remaining 16 are supposed to cater for the front panel. But then we are going to divide this 16 by 3. Because there are 3 sections. There's one that decreases, and then there's the flat one in the middle, and then the one that increases. So what we're going to do is divide this 16 or whatever number that you have, half of your bust measurement, divide by 3. So we are now considering the front panel. Half your bust measurement, divide by 3, we are going to get 5.3 inches. So this is the number, the magic number for the front panel. We are going to get a slanted edge for 5.3 inches, then a flat edge for 5.3 inches, and another slanted edge for 5.3 inches, which will give us a total of 16 inches, which we need for our front panel. As you will see as we work, this may get a little bit confusing, but make sure you get your calculations right, and then you note them down so that you don't confuse the calculations when you're working. So you're going to get your measuring tape, and whatever number that we are considering, we are subtracting 1 inch. So if it's 5.3, we're removing 1 inch and we are getting 4.3. Reason being, the stitch that we have chosen to use stretches and we want it to be well fitted around our body. So the magic number goes down to 4.3 inches. So we're going to put our measuring tape like this and see how many rows fit in 4.3 inches. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 rows. So that means we're going to do 13 rows, because the front panel, let me say this is our front side of the top. The front panel is going to come like this, and then flat, and then slant to create this opening for the belly to show. So we are going to create this sort of slant, but at the top we are still going to get a flat edge, and we are continuing to create a ribbing at the top of our panels, just like we have here. So the whole aim is to divide these parts into 3, the front panel into 3. This will be 4.3, 4.3, and 4.3, which will give us approximately 12.9. This is not 16, but this is because when we stretch, we shall increase by 1 inch in each section, literally. So I hope that makes sense. So now we're going to go back to our panel and we start working. Whatever number that you choose to make for the back panels, make sure you end on the bottom side of the top. This is the upper side of the top. The side that has the ribbing is the upper side of the top. So make sure you end your final row on the bottom side of the top, which should be an odd number of rows. So for me, I have a total of 21. So for row 22, we're going to start creating this slant here. And to do that, you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work. And we're going to, remember, we counted a total of 13 rows for the first slant, all the way from here to here. So that means we are going to decrease at the base of the top for a total of 13 rows. Just like that. So you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and now we're going to start creating the ribbing of the bottom of the top as well. But this time, since we are decreasing, you're going to skip the very first stitch and go into the second stitch with 1 single crochet back loop only, and then continue to single crochet back loop only until you have a total of 5 single crochets back loop only. So this is what you'll have: 5 single crochets back loop only, and then you're going to go back to half double crochet stitches in the back loop only. And at this point, you can put a stitch marker into the very first row of the slant, because we've already determined the number of rows that we need for the slant. So 13 rows, and then we do something different. So half double crochet back loop only, until you have 5 stitches left on your row, and those 5 stitches are going to get single crochet back loop only into each to maintain the ribbing at the top of our crop top. All right. So when you get to the 5 stitches, you're going to place 1 single crochet back loop only. In each of the 5 last stitches. So this is what we have. So this time we are creating a ribbing both at the base and at the top of our crop top. Then from here, you're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work, 1 single crochet back loop only in each of the first 5 stitches. And then half double crochet in each of the next stitches until you have 6 stitches left on your row. This time not 5, until you have 6 stitches left. So this is row 2 of the front slant, the first third of the front panel. Okay, now we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this was supposed to be the 6th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So when you have 6 stitches left, you're going to place 1 single crochet back loop only into each of the next 5 stitches, eliminating 1 stitch at the base. Okay, so this is what we have, and this is going to start creating that slant that we want at the base of our crop top. So you're going to eliminate this stitch, that stitch that we've left behind, and then you're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work, back loop only after skipping 1 stitch. Skip 1 stitch and then 1 single crochet back loop only in each of the next 5 stitches. And this is exactly what we did for row 1 of the slanting edge of our top, and you can see what this is creating. So you first skip 1 stitch and then 1 single crochet back loop only into the next stitch, and then make sure you have a total of 5, and then you go back to half double crochet stitches until you have a total of 5 stitches, because the top is not getting any decreases. So basically we are on row 3 and we are still left with 10 more rows to make a total of 13 rows, just like we had determined using our calculations. So this is row 3 until you have 5 stitches left. So when you have 5 stitches left, you're going to go into them with 1 single crochet back loop only to maintain the top ribbing of the crop top. Okay, so chain 1, turn your work, and row 4 is basically going to be the same as row 2 of the slant. So chain 1, turn 1 single crochet back loop only in each of the first 5 stitches, and then half double crochet back loop only in each of the next stitches until you have a total of 6 stitches left on your row. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So when you have 6 stitches left, you're going to go into the next stitch with 1 single crochet back loop only, and single crochet back loop only in each of the next 4 stitches to make a total of 5 single crochets back loop only, just like that. So we've eliminated the very last stitch, and then you're going to make a chain of 1 and keep working these 2 rows. The 2 rows, the one that starts with the 5 single crochet back loops only and then ends with skipping 1 stitch on the edge, and then the one that starts with chain 1 and skipping 1 stitch. So basically rows 2 and 3, keep working that until you have a total of 13 rows. Remember, we've already determined the number of rows that we need. So I'm going to work until I have a total of 13 rows, and then I'll be back to show you what I have. Alright guys, after my 13 rows, or whatever number of rows that you needed to do for your top, for the slanting part, this is what you'll have. Something like this. Alright, now that we have determined the 13 rows here, that means also we are going to get 13 rows for the middle section, and then 13 rows for the downer slant. So we're going to end up having a total of 39 rows for the front panel, because we have 13 here, 13 here, and 13 here. So for this part, we are going to just maintain. We are just going to keep it flat. So what we are going to do is make a chain of 1, turn your work, and single crochet back loop only in each of the first 5 stitches. And then half double crochet back loop only in each stitch until you have a total of 5 stitches left. This time not 6. You're going to half double crochet until you have a total of 5 stitches left. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you have 5 stitches left, you're going to go into each of them with 1 single crochet back loop only. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is going to start making our work flat. As you can see, we are no longer decreasing. This is going to make a flat edge at the base of our crop top. Then we're going to repeat this row again and again until we have a total of 13 rows, because now we are working with a specific number. So I will mark the very first row with a stitch marker. I have a safety pin here, so I'll mark the very first row here, and then I have to do a total of 12 more rows. So follow your directions and see the number of rows that you have to do for your top, for the flat edge, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. Chain 1, turn your work, 1 single crochet back loop only in each of the first 5 stitches, and then half double crochet back loop only in each of the next stitches, until you have 5 stitches left on your row. And then when you have 5 stitches left, you're going to go into each of them with 1 single crochet back loop only. So this is the second row of the flat or the middle section. So let me go ahead and do my 13 rows total, and I'll be back to show you what to do next. All right guys, so here we are done with our 13 rows of the straight edge or the constant stitches in the middle of the top. Now we're going to get our second panel. It's still attached to the second yarn ball, and we're going to do this slant just like we did it here, and then we shall just come and attach this section together. So get your second panel. Remember, this is exactly what we had here, and then we started decreasing this part. So rewind your video to that point where you started the decreases until you have a total of 13 rows up to this point, that slant there on this panel, and then I'll meet you back and show you how to join everything together. Alright guys, after creating the slant on the second panel, this is exactly what you'll have. Now what we are left with is to join this area here together. So I'm going to just make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn to break off the yarn from one of the balls, because this one is still attached to the yarn ball. And then from here I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn, but this time I am going to leave a long enough strand for attaching the 2 panels together. So you can see how the curve has worked out. So you're going to get your darning needle, and we're going to attach the 2 pieces together so that we create this curve. We have a slant on this side, a slant on this side, and then this flat edge. So I'm going to just go into the back loops only. Okay, actually I'm going to go into the braid. So in and out, and then on this side, just watch what I'm doing. On this side, go into the first braid, out of the second braid, and then pull through, just like that. And then you go into the braid where you last passed your hook or your darning needle, in and out of the next braid, and then pull through. And then you're going to repeat that all the way up. You can also use the whip stitch if you wish, but I feel like this is going to give me the cleanest edge when I pull everything together. So go into each and every braid, in and out, in and out. So I believe this is called the mattress stitch, and it's going to give us the cleanest edge, a very invisible seam. So as you can see here, once we finish, we won't be able to differentiate between the 2 panels. It will be like we worked all the panels together. So after the half double crochet stitches, you're also going to go into the single crochet stitches doing the same exact thing, because we want to join the whole stretch. All right, so when you make it all the way across like this, you're going to pull on your strand so that it can close up all the stitches evenly, just like that. And you can see how the seam line is very invisible. After this, you can go ahead and tie this into a knot, because you have 2 strands at this point. And then you can cut off your yarn or weave in your tail using a darning needle, whichever way you wish to finish up. So this is what we have at the moment. And when we measure our panel all the way across without stretching, we have a total of 25 inches, but remember our bust measurement is 32 inches. So let's try to stretch it out, and we see. So you can see it goes to 32, even beyond. So this will be perfectly fitted around the bust of our client. So at this point, we are going to remove all the stitch markers from our project. And this is what we are going to have. Now we're going to introduce our skirt so that we can turn this into a dress. I'm going to first zip it up. Okay. So this is what we have at the moment. And we're going to mark the sides of our skirt. So you can mark with a stitch marker, or you can mark with anything. It can be a thread or a safety pin. So mark those points where you want the top to attach. There. So we've marked those points, and this is where these points are going to attach. But we are going to attach them using strings because we want the top to be detachable from the skirt, so that the skirt can be a multi-purpose skirt. All right, so using 2 strands of yarn, I am going to just make a chain of 50. Okay, so after a chain of 50, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, and then make another chain of 50. So we want a total of 2 chains of 50. All right, so when you have your 2 chains, you're going to attach them in these spaces. So this space where you marked on the skirt, and then go into this corner of the top and then pull through like that. Then you're going to just tie with a normal ribbon, a simple ribbon, just like that. You can decide to attach them permanently by sewing them together at this point, but I don't want to do that because I want the top to be able to be detached from the skirt. Okay, so from here, just make a ribbon there, and then do the same exact thing on this side at that point where you had marked with the safety pin. Just like that, and then make a simple ribbon. Then you're going to cut off the excess yarn of the chains that we made, the chains of 50, and then balance the ribbon. And then at this point, you're going to go ahead and weave in all your tails on the skirt. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be showing you what everything looks like. You can go ahead and make loops at the back. I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me first weave in all the tails on the skirt, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. All right guys, we're done with getting rid of all the loose strands that were laying around the waist area of the skirt. And now you're going to turn your work to the back side, and we're going to just create a few loops along the back side of the top so that we can lace it up. And to do that, you're going to grab your hook and yarn. I'm still using a 4mm, so you're going to attach your yarn into the very first stitch, and then make a chain of 5, skip 3 chains, and into the 4th you're going to place a single crochet, chain 5, skip 3 chains, 3 stitches, 1 2 3, into the 4th place a single crochet, and you're going to repeat this, chain 5, skip 3 stitches, and into the 4th single crochet. All right, so I'm going to make a chain of 5 and create my very last loop here. And after this, I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn. Once you get done with this, you're going to repeat the same exact thing on the opposite side. Make sure you have the same exact number of loops along this side, just like you've done on this side. All right, when you finish all the loops, you're going to cut your yarn, fold through, and then you're going to fold over your work like this. And then you're going to get 2 strands of yarn, and you're going to make a chain of 120 to 150, depending on the length that you want for the back strap. So I'm going to do around 150 chains using 2 strands of yarn, just like we did for this ribbon. So I ended up doing a total of 170 chains all together, and I'm going to lace up from the bottom of the top into the loops that we've just created. This is going to help us hold the top in place. So just lace it up in a zigzag format all the way up. All right, so after lacing it up like this, you're going to tie at the top like that, and then you're going to get rid of the loose these extra strands of yarn, just like that. And this is how the back of the top will look like. You can even decide to have this as the front of the top, but the front looks like this. This is the original design. So let's see the final look.